Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Elemental Evan podcast, where I help you to live a happier and healthier life by providing you with some simple and practical tools on health and wellness topics. This is your host, as always, Evan Roberts, and on today's show, we're going to cover a topic that hits really close to home for myself, as well as for many people in the area in which I live, which is Los Angeles, and that is wildfire smoke and indoor air quality. So at the time of this recording, there are currently a lot of wildfires taking place here in Los Angeles. We have the one that's closest to me would be the Palisades fire, but we also have ones like the Eaton fire and I believe the Sunset fire. There's many going on right now. And so starting off with that, I just wanted to first send out all my love, prayers, and thoughts to everyone who has lost their home, lost a friend who has lost a home, or just a community space that you spent a lot of time. I know those hold a lot of memories, and as well, obviously, there's a lot of financial hardship involved in that. And so truly thinking of all of you during this time. And I wanted to start this podcast episode off with, if you want to help out in any way, hopefully this episode is coming out soon enough that you can still make a significant contribution in some way, either with your time or with your money. And I will go ahead and have links to places where you can donate either time or money in the show description of today's episode. Please feel free to check that out. And if you're able to provide any assistance in any way, please check that out. And truly just really thinking of everyone who is dealing with a loss of a home or a shared space or whatever it might be. In regards to everyone who is in LA County but has not lost their home, luckily, truly a blessing. But as well, there are still a lot of health concerns that we should be focused on right now, which is primarily with our respiratory system, our lung health, and as well the quality of the air, not just outside, but actually inside your house. That's going to be the topic for today's episode. We want to really, focus on trying to make our homes a little air sanctuary, right? Like we want to make sure that it's a safe space for us to be able to breathe freely and clean air, which typically indoor air is actually not the best quality air. Even though you might think you're able to control it a little bit better, it's truly not the best quality air. Clean outside air is always going to be a lot healthier, but in the scenario of having wildfires so close, it is really important that we are focusing on trying to make our indoor air quality as best as possible, because obviously it's going to be a lot better than the smoke that's outside. So today we are going to cover a few different things. We're going to cover some practical tips on how to improve the air in your home. We're also going to cover some herbs, some supplements, some food that you can eat and consume to improve both the health of your lungs and your respiratory system. But we're also going to share a couple of practices, some movement practices that are also going to be beneficial for your lungs. Those will be things that you can do after the smoke is gone, primarily when we're talking about exercises, because really at this moment in time, we want to just kind of focus on the air quality and trying to take care of our lung health with some supplements, foods, and really easy things that we can kind of tap into right now. But at the end of this episode, the goal here is to really just make it so that you can breathe a little easier, figuratively and literally. So let's go ahead and jump into the episode for today. So we're going to first start this whole thing off with just why wildfires affect the indoor air quality. I think it's pretty obvious, right? Like smoke is not good to be inhaling. Anytime you're burning actually any substance, it's not too good. It is not good to be inhaling those particulates that are going into the air. But when it comes to having especially a wildfire that is burning homes, you're also going to be having the release of, a lot of things that could be in the paints, in the up in the attics, in the insulation, right? We're talking about things like asbestos and formaldehyde, and who knows what kind of if there's any heavy metals in the paints. Like all of these are being released into the air right now. So it's not just like a brush fire. This is a fire that is burning up houses, which is going to have additional harmful particulates in there that we want to be really careful of. And, these wildfire smokes, they give off these toxic gases essentially, and fine particulates, things like carbon monoxide, and then what's known as volatile organic compounds, or commonly referred to as VOCs. But we really want to make sure that we are doing our best to prevent these particulates from A, getting into our house, and then B, being like recirculated, like constantly just breathing them and never actually taking action and stopping them at the source. And even if you think you have all of your windows closed and your doors closed and all of that, there are still ways in which these little fine particulates can get into your house. And primarily that's going to be through, gaps underneath your door, like your front door, for example, or your back door, or however you get into your house. Like those are not always airtight as well. Some windows are not always airtight either. And then in your attic, if you have a split system HVAC system, so for heating and cooling, the furnace, which would be in your attic, is not always fully 100% airtight. It's not always completely sealed up. Ducts can also have leaks in them as well. And your attic space, a lot of times, has ventilation areas that bring outside air into your attic. And therefore, your furnace could be sucking that air from outside and then blowing it into your house. And so you can still be receiving some of the outside air from even your HVAC system, which you think would be a totally closed up system, but it's not. With houses, there was a time where we were really focused on energy efficiency, and we still are, obviously. It's like where we're headed, but we were very focused on trying to make houses as airtight as possible. Come to find out, that's actually not super healthy. You want some outside air to be flowing into the house to kind of renew the air and freshen it up. So it is important to have some flow of outside air into your house. It's actually important, if you can, not during a wildfire, to open up your windows and allow your house to air out and essentially kind of clean itself out. The air quality outside when there's not wildfires is typically much better than your indoor air quality. But for right now, we're really just focusing down on what we can do to stop that outside air from coming into your house, and then how to make sure that the air that is inside your house is as clean as possible. So kind of goes without saying, but during this wildfire or any wildfire, we want to make sure that we are keeping our windows closed, our doors closed as much as possible. Of course, you're going to leave and come into the house and all that, so you are going to open your door here and there, but we're really trying to reduce the amount of time in which that's open or just any windows are open during a wildfire. And even after a wildfire is done, it's very important to check websites on the air quality to make sure, even though it doesn't smell like smoke outside, it doesn't mean that there aren't still some particulates out there that could be affecting the air quality. So it's important to stay up to date on that. On my iPhone, I can literally look and just see like the air quality in my area. They give me a little score and it's really easy to read. So it's super accessible. You can find out the air quality and kind of go based off of that. But best rule of thumb during the fire, and as long as you can see smoke, please keep your doors and your windows all closed. And in terms of the little gaps where, air could be getting in, your HVAC system, for example, might not be fully sealed. So one thing that we can start doing is actually putting a good filter in your HVAC system. So typically you have a little air filter that would go, if you have a split system, it would be in the furnace. And those filters are decent. I mean, they do help filter the air for sure and large particulates, but we're really more focused on those smaller, fine particulates. I think they call them PM2.5 particles. Those are the really tiny ones. And to really filter those out, you need a HEPA filter or a MERV, M-E-R-V, rating of 13 or higher. So if you have an HVAC system and you're able to, or you already have a MERV or a HEPA filter in there, then that's going to be really helpful, because that's also going to help filter out a lot of those particulates. But as well, if it's a really old air conditioning unit, there are chances that there might be some, holes in your air ducts, and there just could be a possibility of some of the outside air getting in. So you do want to be careful with how you're using your HVAC system. I think that one of the best ways to really filter your air in a moment like this is actually having a portable air filter. There's a million different brands out there. I don't have one that I've done a ton of research on that I can highly recommend, but I will tell you some that I hear a lot about would be ones like the Air Doctor. That's one I hear a lot about as well. Blue Air, that's actually the one that I'd have. it works pretty well. I mean, seems to do its job. It does come with a HEPA filter, so it's, definitely better than having nothing. 100% better than having nothing. You really, really want to have some kind of air filtration system going. So that is ideal. And as well, if you have a large house, or even doesn't even have to be a super large house, but just multiple living spaces in the house or apartment, you probably should have more than one filtration system. If you don't, then it would be a good idea to kind of move that filtration system around the house, depending on the areas of the house that you're spending most of your time in. But very specifically, maybe even creating a room where that's like your safe airspace, I guess, where you can go in there and, you're not vacuuming in there, you're not lighting any candles, you're not doing your hair with hairspray, you're not essentially putting any bad stuff into the air in that room. It's just being kept closed for the most part. Maybe even if the smoke is super bad, you put a damp towel at the bottom of that door to really seal it off, and any smoke that might get sucked underneath the door would get, caught up in that damp towel that you're putting at the bottom there. And that can be your safe airspace, right? So you can hopefully spend a lot of time in there, maybe even sleep in there. Like, definitely, hopefully it's a room that you're sleeping in, because that's 8 hours of your day. You're going to be stuck in a room. So that'd be a great idea to keep a good filter in that area. If you truly just don't have the money to spend on an air filter, which I totally understand, because they can get very expensive. I mean, we're talking like $1,000, or, there are definitely some that are in the $200 to $300 range, but it's still a pretty significant purchase to just make on a whim. So if you do not have the finances to do so, there are other methods that you can use that would still be much better than nothing. And a simple method would be to literally get just an oscillating fan. Probably one of the square ones would be the best. And buy a HEPA filter that is roughly the size of the fan that you're purchasing. And then buy some duct tape. And sure, it's like pretty Mickey Mouse looking, but it will work. And so the side of the the side of the fan where the air is being pulled in through, that's where you're going to want to put the filter on, and go ahead and duct tape it to the fan as tight as you can, making sure there's no gaps, no places where air can get around the filter. So really airtight. And then place that fan in the room that you're spending the most time and put it on. It doesn't have to be cranked up super high, but just enough to be really circulating the air and making sure that it is filtering the air. So that's a great option if you don't have the finances to purchase a very good air filtration like system. But those are just a few options. And as well, I love to provide some of those really cheap options, because a lot of people just don't have access to those, or maybe as well, people are purchasing a bunch of them and it's hard to get your hands on them. So it's just always great to have some other options. But that is going to definitely be one of the first big things we really want to do, is focus on stopping all of the bad air from coming into the house. So keep everything closed up. Use weather stripping if you have it on the bottom of your doors or windows where some air could be getting in. And then using air filtration systems, whether that is your HVAC system and putting a HEPA or a MERV air filter in there, or getting, in my opinion, what's better is a portable air filtration system, and then either moving it around the house with you, or having a few around the house and then designating a room specifically to like super clean air quality, where it's like sealed off as best as you can possibly do, and then having a air filtration system running 100% all day in that room. And then as well, just a general rule of thumb is, really try to avoid making or adding more particulates to the air in your house. This can be done through like cooking on a stovetop. If you cook like really smoky, I don't know if you're like grilling meat on the stove or something like that, probably not the best time to be doing that. It's just gonna make the air filter work a lot harder, and it's just gonna be adding more particulates into the air. So probably a better idea to do methods of cooking that don't really involve as much smoke. Maybe baking is a little bit better. If you're maybe you can put meat into the oven and bake it that way. Making a soup, something along those lines, or just some fresh veggies that you're cutting up. Probably gonna be a better idea to do that, as opposed to, like I said, making a ton of smoke in the house and just making your filters work even harder and making the air quality in your house even worse. So watch that. I know you might want to burn some candles because you think it smells bad in your house, and it's a great way to, kind of mask that up. Probably not a good idea either. You're just going to, once again, be adding more particulates into the air. So best thing to do, just try not to add anything that would, any gas that would go into the air. This is probably not the best time to do that. It's time to wait for the wildfires to calm down and for the smoke to pass and dissipate as well. So that's the number one thing we want to focus on here, is really trying to improve the air quality inside the house and keep the air quality, the smoky air from outside from getting into your house or apartment or wherever you live and spend the most time. Okay, now in terms of trying to keep our respiratory system healthy, and as well trying to make sure that our lungs are, working properly and not getting all clogged up, there's a few different supplements and herbs and foods that we can eat and consume that can definitely help out and support our lung and respiratory health. So we'll go ahead and jump into those. First off, we're going to start with some herbs, some really powerful herbs, and pretty much all of these you can make into a tea. So might be a great idea if you can get your hands on some of these to just make a tea like nightly out of these, or sometime during the day when you can consume this. And it's very simple. Mullein, which is a really great herb for lung health, and it's great for soothing the respiratory tract. Once again, you can make this into a tea or a tincture. The easiest way would just be, honestly, to make it as a tea. We also have thyme, the herb that you cook with, thyme. It's antimicrobial. It clears helps to clear the mucus from your lungs. We have peppermint, and that's also going to help to open up your airways, and oregano, which supports immunity and clears congestion. So once again, you can get all of these herbs and make a tea out of them. You can find them dried or even fresh and just use them or consume them in some way or form. Those are going to be very beneficial for your lung health. And then in terms of supplements, there's a few things that are very good for your lung health, but then there's also a few things I'm going to mention that are good for detoxifying your body, which is definitely going to be important at this period of time. So first off, we have things like NAC and glutathione. So NAC is kind of the precursor to glutathione. It's like what makes glutathione essentially. And it reduces mucus and improves lung function, but it's also master antioxidant. So glutathione is really good at just kind of cleansing the body and supporting the liver, which we know the liver is the master of detoxification. It like literally detoxifies your blood. So super important organ when it comes to that. And NAC and glutathione are both going to support your liver and help out with the detoxification process. Then we have vitamin C, which will help to protect your lungs from oxidative damage, and omega-3 fatty acids, typically found in things like wild-caught salmon, or you could also take it as a supplement, or there are certain vegetarian sources, like I believe chia or flax, also have some omegas in them. But my preferred way personally is some salmon. That's like my favorite fish typically, and it's also really good with omega-3s. Or honestly, just taking a supplement. That's one of the easiest ways to get a really high dose of it. But that's also going to help to reduce inflammation in the respiratory system. And then another one I want to mention is chlorophyll, which I typically take in the form of chlorella. But chlorophyll is basically the green pigment of plants, but it's very good at detoxifying your blood from heavy metals, and it will help to bind to the heavy metals and remove them from your blood and from your body. I personally take it in the form of chlorella. Chlorella is an algae that is just super, super high in concentration of chlorophyll. And as well, you get all these other benefits from taking chlorella because it has 40 plus vitamins and minerals in it and does a whole bunch of really great things in the body. But here specifically it has very high levels of chlorophyll and can help to detoxify your blood. So typically what I do is I take spirulina in the morning. It's another algae that also has a lot of chlorophyll in it. Not as much as chlorella, but it does have a lot in it. So I'll take that in the morning, and then in the evening I take chlorella, which will help to detoxify the body as I go to sleep. And it's going to work while I'm sleeping and helping already the natural detoxification process that happens while you sleep, but will also help to bind to a lot of those heavy metals and remove them from your blood. Personal favorite of mine, Energy Bits. I love them so much. They're a company that I've been working with for a few years now, and they're a big sponsor of the show. I love having them on here. Catherine Arnston, awesome person, really tons of great knowledge on all things algae. And yeah, so if you haven't listened to her episodes, go check them out. But that's my favorite brand personally, and you can find the link in the show notes and as well a 20% discount code for being a listener to the show. So I highly recommend checking them out. But those are going to be the main supplements that I would mainly focus on when it comes to detoxification and as well as supporting the lungs. And then when we move into foods that are going to help support your lungs, are going to be things that, honestly, it's coming back to the whole foods, but, you know, things like leafy greens, arugula, spinach, those are going to be loaded with antioxidants. Garlic and onions, those have anti-inflammatory properties. And then if we want to focus on getting some vitamin C, we can think, of course, of our citrus fruits, but then also things like broccoli. Broccoli has a lot of vitamin C in it as well. And also, do not forget turmeric. And I love ginger. I've been doing a little tea where I have turmeric and ginger in it together. But really, it's just super powerful in terms of its anti-inflammatory properties. So if there's one to really focus on, I would highly recommend getting some turmeric into your system. It's very anti-inflammatory. And then just once again, really focusing on the whole foods, things that are rich in antioxidants, and focusing on the fruits, the veggies, the high quality meats, things like that. Okay, and then moving into the last kind of segment here in terms of supporting our lung health. And this is something that I would probably recommend waiting until the smoke clears out and it's safe to even just open up your doors and your windows and have fresh air coming into your house. But these are lung exercises that can help to expel some trapped air and maybe some of the particulates that you've been breathing in. So once again, we want to kind of wait until the air clears up a little bit so we're not, doing these breathing practices and kind of adding in bad stuff. But the breathing practices that we can use here, number one would be a diaphragmatic breathing. So simply just focusing on expanding your belly on an inhale and then contracting your belly on an exhale. And what this does is it really helps to pull your diaphragm down and allows for your lungs to get air down into the depths of them. And then when you contract your belly, you're really helping to push all of that air out of the bottom of your lungs and then expel it out through your airways, through your mouth, your nose. So this is going to be a great practice. It's very simple. You can do it sitting down, standing, lying, whatever. It's a very easy practice to do, and just really focusing on taking slow, controlled, pretty deep breaths in and out. You can do it to the count of 7 or 8. And then, so it's I'll count to 7 or 8 on an inhale, hold for 1, and then go ahead and release for 7 to 8. And then if you want to improve this even more, you can breathe out through pursed lips, like you're blowing out a candle or blowing through a straw. And this is also just going to kind of help create more tension and help you to expel that air. And as well, we want to really focus on getting into the depths of the lungs. So when you're exhaling, instead of exhaling to where you feel comfortable, I want you to exhale to the point where you feel like there's truly just no more air. You can't exhale anything else out of your lungs. So really trying to get into the depths and forcing all of that stagnant air out of your lungs, and then breathing in new fresh air into the depths of your lungs, and really allowing them to get in there and circulate, clean everything out, and just repeat this breath 20, 30, 40, 50 times, however many times you want to do it. You can do it multiple times a day, and this can really help to just clear out the stagnant air that can be stuck in your lungs. And then as well, if you want to go ahead and add some movement into there, we could do things like, for yoga, we have the cat-cow pose where you're on all fours, on your knees and your hands, and you simply just arch your back and then round your back with your breaths. And this is a great way to also kind of just create some movement in our lungs as we're doing this breathing practice. And there's other practices as well, like Tai Chi or Qigong, which are going to also help focus on your breathing and then putting yourself into positions that can help get into the deeper parts of your lungs. Personally, I don't have a ton of experience with Tai Chi or Qigong, but I know that there's a lot of benefits in there, and specifically with some breathing practices. Personally, I don't have enough knowledge on it to really share a whole lot, but if you do practice that and you have some knowledge, or you want to go try a class out, that would be a great option as well. So those are a couple of really easy practices to help kind of expel the air from your lungs. As well, when I was in my yoga teacher training, we would do a preparatory pranayama, just a warm-up breath work. And in the breath work, we would do things where we would inhale through the lungs, fill up the chest completely with air, and then with open hands, you kind of beat on your chest, on your lungs, and then even on the sides of your rib cage and on the back of your rib cage to try to help free up any stagnant air. And then on the exhale, once again, doing that pursed lip, or even like just really forcing air through a small hole out of your mouth to really create some tension and help force the air out. These are great practices for cleaning out the lungs. So that's mainly going to do it for today's episode. I just wanted to provide hopefully some quick, simple tips on how to improve not only the air quality in your house, but also improve the quality of your lungs, making sure we're getting all the stagnant air out of there as well, and making sure that we're staying healthy during a very difficult time when, our mind is not mainly focused on our health. It's focused on other things like, possibly losing a house and a lot of memories. So truly, once again, just want to reiterate, so sad and so sorry for everyone who has had to deal with the loss of a house. And, the prayers and the thoughts are all with you at this moment in time. If there's any way that I can help spread any word for any of you that are dealing with something very difficult at this moment in time, please feel free to reach out to me through email. That's in the show description as well, or on Instagram at elementalevan. I'm happy to help spread the word in any way that I can. So, okay, that's going to do it for today, y'all. Just a quick recap on what we covered today. That was, we want to focus on, first off, sealing up our home, improving the air quality through air filtration systems, making sure that, we're sealed up where we can seal up the house. And to remember that, just because we seal it up doesn't mean that it's airtight. We do need a filtration system of some kind. Doesn't have to be a super fancy, expensive one. It can literally be an oscillating fan with a HEPA filter literally taped onto it. So that's a very simple, easy way to do it. And to help improve the air quality of our house as well. Those are just great to have even when it's not a wildfire outside, because our houses do tend to have some pretty bad air quality. So having an air filtration system could be something that maybe you save up for in the future, and it's something that will last you for a super long time. Number 2 was going to be different herbs, supplements, and foods that we can be eating to improve the health of our lungs. Of course, it's kind of like a difficult thing where we can't get out and get a lot of movement in at this moment in time. So really focusing in on some of those herbs like mullein and peppermint, these are going to be very good for our lungs. And then as well, NAC, glutathione, turmeric as an herb or a food. These are going to be great as well. The chlorella or the chlorophyll, that's super great at helping to detoxify the body. So really focusing in on those. If you have them in your cabinet already, make sure you're taking those. If you can get your hands on some, go ahead and grab some and start taking them. I like to take chlorella or chlorophyll in the evening to help support that natural detoxification process that takes place at nighttime. And once again, check out Energy Bits. Absolute favorite when it comes to those algaes. And then last but not least, we want to have some intentional breathing practices after the smoke has cleared. We don't want to be doing these in a time where, it's still super smoky outside and we can be kind of like causing more harm to our lungs than good. So we want to make sure that the air quality is pretty decent outside. Make sure to check your local weather report and check on the air quality and then go forward from there. So that's going to do it for today. Oh, sorry, almost forgot. Yeah, just make sure the diaphragmatic breathing though. That was the last piece. Make sure you do that once the air quality is good. Really just focusing on that belly, that diaphragmatic breathing, that belly breathing, allowing your belly to kind of expand out on an inhale, contract on the exhale, and really just exhaling all the air that you possibly can to make sure you're getting all that stagnant air out of your lungs. That's going to do it. Hopefully everyone is safe and doing well. Thoughts and prayers are with everybody, and I hope that this episode helps not only the people who are currently going through this issue with the LA fires, but as well in the future, anyone who is near a wildfire. This is a great practice to have handy and have knowledge on in case of a fire near you. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for today. Sorry that today's episode had to be on something that's a little bit more of a serious note. but I felt that it was very necessary to cover this, and I hope you will find a lot of benefit in this episode. And on that note, we will have some excellent guests coming up in early February, so stay tuned for those. And until then, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you on the next episode. All right, much love, everybody. Peace.